All right, so what you guys can do to help me is that Chris and I are in the process of writing a book for real estate agents on social media marketing, how real estate agents can build a social media strategy and that kind of stuff. So if you guys would check out Garyus.com and share that with folks, that would be really awesome. And then I'll dive right into my presentation. So, Google Analytics. Let's see, so I want to get a kind of an idea of where all of you are at with Google Analytics at this point. So, who actually is using Google Analytics right now? Good. So you guys have got it installed on your website? Okay, yep. Cool. And so you've got it installed. So who's checking their Google Analytics more than once a week?
I used to.
You used it? Cool. Good, good, good. And is anybody using the campaign functionality in Google Analytics? Mike? Cool.
I have.
You have?
For my legal business.
Okay, good.
But I don't for the right business.
Cool. All right, good. So one thing that you guys probably, if you're looking online and reading about social media marketing and those kinds of things, there's a lot of debate about, can I track success with social media? People complain all the time. It's really hard to track what's going on with social media. Should I be tracking how many likes I've got or how many hits I'm driving to my website or all these other things? And the really cool thing about Google Analytics is that Google Analytics actually allows you to be able to track what's going on your social media accounts. So it allows you to literally tie what you're doing on social media with actual dollars in your business. So that can be done whether you've got a business that's selling products online or whether you've got a business that's selling products offline. It's easier if it's online, but you can do it offline. In some cases, some of you are not directly selling things online, right? You're trying to build trust with somebody over time. And so in that case, it might be that you're trying to get them to sign up for a newsletter or something like that. In those cases, you'd want to be able to track that. Eventually, you can track the conversions on that newsletter, right? You can see how many people buy something from you as a result of your newsletter. You can take that data and connect it to Google Analytics to say, here's how my social media efforts and my online efforts are contributing to the success of my newsletter. Does that all make sense? Cool. So I'm going to show you guys how to get to that point where you're actually tracking the dollars in output. So Google Analytics is very robust. If you look inside here, so I'm just logged in and kind of expanding some of these areas so you guys can get an idea.
Is this Garyus?
What's that?
Who's
yeah, this is for Garyus.com.
To get to this screen, Google Analytics needs to be installed on my website. Is that
yes.
Right? Okay. So it's easy
On
to
your
do.
website, just on your computer?
Yeah, so I'll walk you guys through that in just a second. I wanted to kind of give you an idea of the scope of what's there, and then I'll start doing step by step. Sorry. So you can see by me expanding these different menus, and each one of these has multiple reports underneath it. Google has got a lot of different things that you can look at. There's probably about 130, 150 reports under here, and it can get pretty overwhelming. We're going to focus on the top probably 4 or 5 different reports that you want to look at, and you should be able to really kind of run your business from those ones. There'll be specific cases where you want to go and look at other ones, but for the most part, you can do most of what you need with a handful of them. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is don't worry about the fact that there's so many things in here. As you get comfortable with it, you can start looking at others, but just start with a handful, get familiar with them, see how the things that you do impact the data that shows up in those reports, and then fine-tune your business based on that. I definitely suggest that that in general, most businesses, that you don't even worry about the hits to your website, right? If you can get to the point where you can measure the dollars as a starting point, you can look at that, and when you see something that's wrong, then you can drill in and say, oh, well, it's because I'm not getting any hits over here or any hits over here. But the actual hits don't really translate into anything directly, right? So by measuring those top-level business metrics as your starting point, it actually gives you more control over what happens. So let's walk through a couple quick little pieces. So Google Analytics is just google.com. I can type it in. google.com/analytics. You have to be able to type to get to it. And you'll get this nice little page. You can either, if you've already got an account set up, you can click the Access Analytics button. And if you don't have an account, then you can hit this little Sign Up Now link. In my case, because I was already signed in, it's not going to have me do the sign up. The sign up is pretty straightforward. It's going to ask you, what. Actually, I can add it in just so you guys can see.
I had some problems getting it onto the page. Do you have to add that to every page of your blog?
It depends on what blog software you're using. If you're Blogger. No, there's I believe for Blogger there's a plugin that you can install that'll automatically put it on every page for you. And WordPress is really awesome for that too. It's got a plugin where you just put in your ID number for Google Analytics and so on an account, when you first set it up, Google's going to give you. So I went into the settings up here in the upper right. Make sure that it's showing up right. And then tracking code. If I had created a new account, it would have shown me this during the setup process, but I just want to kind of show you guys where you get this stuff, right? So this code right here is basically your Google Analytics account number. And so if you've got a WordPress blog, there's a couple different plugins I'll show you later that you can install on your blog where it'll do all the Google Analytics tracking for you, and all it asks you for is this account ID. That's it. So in most cases, that account ID is all you need to know about. If you have had your website custom built, you're not using some content management system or blogging platform, and you need to actually install Google Analytics, it also it generates the snippet of code for you down at the bottom. And so basically the question you were just asking about whether you have to put this on every page that you want Google Analytics to track for you, you put this code at the bottom of the page and it'll automatically do all the tracking for you. And notice that hidden inside all this gobbledygook is that same account ID that you saw up above. So it's just doing that all for you. So
what's the advanced and customs for? Is that if you
what?
You got standard, which is what's showing, advanced and custom. Are those all in case you built your website from the ground up and you want to install it type of thing?
Yeah. So there's yeah, so the advanced and custom allow you to tweak for a mobile site and that kind of stuff. In 95% of the cases, you're going to be single domain you're going to be on the standard under a single domain. In most cases, unless you've got a really advanced setup, you're probably not going to need to touch any of these other ones.
We don't have, as I mentioned earlier, a website yet.
Yep.
But, so you can use this on a WordPress blog or any blog site. Can you use it on your Facebook business page
Yep.
and on a LinkedIn page as well, or not?
Yeah, and not directly to track the number of people that come to it, but you can track in the links that you add to your LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can sort of put some code in there that that allows you on your website to see that people came from LinkedIn.
Okay.
Can you use this with Twitter to keep track of how many people click on the links that you send out and your tweets and so forth?
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to show you here. And connecting that to, they were on Twitter, they clicked the link, they did some stuff on your website, they spent some money, seeing that whole path of exactly what happened.
Okay.
All right, so that's the basic setup, and I don't want to go too deep into that. So if you guys need any help with that, let me know afterward. We'll pretend like you all got it installed safely, and we'll dive into the next piece. So Google Analytics really is going to let you see what is happening on your website, but not why, right? So you can see that somebody came from Twitter and they hit a specific page, but you don't know why. Was it they were annoyed by the message and they wanted to see who's the jerk behind this? Or was it that they absolutely loved it and they wanted to come and check it out? Right? You have no idea what mindset they were in or why that happened. So the idea behind Google Analytics is to kind of get you started, right? To tell you what areas to focus on. It can tell you that, that people are coming to this one page and they're only spending a couple seconds on this page before they leave and they just give up, right? So that tells you that you need to figure out why people are leaving on that page and go do some exploration to try and understand that a little better, right? So it's sort of like a compass. Just sort of lets you know about what direction you need to go, and that way you can figure out where to focus. So here are some of the, I'm going to show you guys the overview, the audience overview for one of my websites. So what you get here along the top is a little graph that lets you know day by day how many visitors came to your website. So you can see whether that's trending upward or trending downward, what's going on. You can see for some reason on that day I got a spike in traffic, right? So that's something interesting I probably would drill into and try and see why that happened. So you can see that during the course of this month, I should show you that in the upper right hand corner it'll show you the date range that this data is for. And you can actually click that and you can change the dates if you wanted to, if you want to see different dates, those kinds of things. So I had 2,118 people that visited the site during the course of this month. Notice that I've got this 2,697 visits. So first one is the number of people, and really people means the number of computers, because if I go and visit the website on this computer and then I jump to another one and visit it, that's going to look like two different people visited my website. You can't tell the difference between just the computer. So from that, you can see the difference between that number shows you that I had some people that came back. So not a lot, but like 600 of them were return visitors. They came back more than once to the website throughout the course of that month. And then notice that the unique visitors matches the people number that was up above. Page views tells me how many pages people actually looked at on my website. So if somebody came to my website and looked at the home page and they clicked on another link and they clicked on one more link inside my website and then left and went back over to Google, I would see 3 page views and 1 visitor. If that person then came back 2 days later, then my number of visits would go up, but my number of visitors would not. Does that make sense? Cool. And then this metric, the number of pages per visit, is basically the number of visitors divided by the number of pages, and tells you about how many pages each person looks at on average. So if I was running, well, I am in this case running primarily a blog, right? And so in that case, my goal is really to kind of get people to stay on the website and stick around and visit a lot of pages and try to get them to come back. So what I'm going to be looking at in my numbers is how can I drive up the number of return visits that I'm getting. Return visits mean that the people enjoyed the content and they're willing to come back and those kinds of things. So how do I drive up the unique, the return visits, and then probably the number of pages per visit, as well as the time, the amount of time that they're spending on the website, which is the next item on there. In some cases where you've got an e-commerce website, you actually probably want the time to be really low. You want them to get through that process really quickly and get on with their life, right? So in that case, I'm going to want that number to be low. So with all of these, you need to really think about what you're trying to accomplish on your website when you look at the numbers. There's not like a blanket rule that says, the amount of time should always be high, right? It's going to really depend on what you're trying to accomplish. The bounce rate, the next metric on there, this is the number of people that came to your website and then didn't look at any other pages. They looked at one page and left. So either in the case of a blog where you're driving a lot of traffic from social media, in a lot of cases those people are actually coming to the blog to read that one article they were interested in, and they're not going to go and look at other things. So from my perspective, for my website, usually I try and keep my bounce rate between about like 60 and 75, and it tends to be, I tend to get pretty good results from that. And then new visits is just how many people were new during the course of this month. So you can see that most of the people that are coming to the website are new. So I would actually like to drive that number down, in my case, and try and get people coming back, have less new visitors, and have people really kind of engaged and committed to my blog.
So it's remembering the computers that were there earlier in that time period.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It uses some tracking technology to basically track that in the cookies on your browser. So
So it doesn't matter if you hop from one IP address to another, it's all just, it's all in the single computer.
It uses the cookies in your browser to track it.
So if you delete your cookies, then it's gonna reset.
You look like a new person. Yep. Yeah, so if somebody deletes their cookies and then comes back to your website, it's gonna look like they're now a new visitor. Yep. And that's, I can't tell who that person is, it just gives you that visibility into whether it was the same computer or not. So don't clear your cookies, it screws up my data. All right, so then down below you start to get into some interesting things about the language that the people speak, or not the language that they speak, the language that they have their browser set to. So they're, on their computer that's set. So you could have somebody that's in another country, but has all their stuff set to English, and so it'll show up as English here. What you get over on the left here, though, is that you start getting into which country they're in, and this is actually based on where their internet connection is set up at. So, you get some of the large carriers like Cox Cable around here. They've got such broad coverage that it's actually kind of hard to tell where people are at, but you can sort of tell they're in the Southwest, typically based on the data. Google Analytics tracks a lot of data. When you go and hit a web page, your browser actually tells that web page, hey, I'm Google Chrome, and here's my version, and this person's running Windows, and their language is set to English, and all of these things are all coming from your browser when you go and hit a web page. So none of it's personally identifiable, but it lets you know kind of what setup they've got. That all making sense? All right, cool. So we did the dashboard overview, goals. We talked about that a little bit. So let's go through actually setting up goals. So I already sort of touched on it just a little bit, right? Each of you is going to have different reasons that you've got your website set up and different things that you're trying to accomplish on that website, right? So as an example, actually I'm going to go over the scheduling side because I can track it better. So like this is the Garius homepage. In this case, people come to the front of the website. It gives them some marketing information about the services that we offer. And so in my case, what I really want for the person to do is to go through and either click on one of these buttons to take them through and see the pricing, or to click on the pricing link here. Both of those are really kind of the things that I'm trying to get people to do when they come to my homepage, right? So in my case, it would be valuable for me to track the number of people that actually do click on that and go to the pricing, right? Because then I can figure out, that gives me a very concrete area that I can look at to try to improve. I can see that the steps that somebody needs to take to sign up for my product are that they come in on some page anywhere, they go to the pricing page, then they click the sign up now link, and they fill out the form. Like if they follow those steps, then I've now got a new customer. So what you want to do is kind of think about those steps in whatever your case is, and break those down into individual pieces so that you can track each of those steps and see how many people are sort of falling out at each of those areas. What you'll see in a lot of cases is people will sort of draw that out as like a funnel, right? You'll see at the top the entry to my website, and I had 2,000 people that were there, and then the next step down was the number of people that viewed my pricing page, and I've got some number there, and then the next step is people that actually completed the purchase, and I've got some number there. So I can work on any of those steps in the funnel to try and enhance the process through my website. That make sense? All right, cool. So I'm going to show you guys how to set up those goals that I just talked about. In my case, I've got those 3 goals. So if you go back into that settings button up in the upper right hand corner again, when you get to this first page, you'll see the second tab down here is called goals. See, in my case, I already have them set up actually. So what the Google Analytics gives you space to basically set up a total of 20 goals on your website, and then it's got these what's called goal sets. So it gives you 5 goals inside that set. It's really just a way to organize things. So don't worry too much about exactly where to put them. What happens is when you're in and looking at the reports inside Google Analytics, you can say, show me this data for all the people that went through these goals. So it'll let you see all 5 underneath goal set 1 together, and then I gotta hit a drop down to go into goal set number 2. So try to put things together that are similar. So in my case, everything around buying my product I put into number 1, and then things that were secondary I started to put into goal set number 2. But you can move them around and that kind of stuff. It's not really a big deal. So don't overthink it too much.
And it's doing that tracking by URL.
Yeah, I'll show you that right now. Yep, that's how I set it up. But so what you do is you go in here and you say new goal, and you give it a name. So in my case, you know, our goal is that we want them to view the pricing page. Oh my God, I really can't type. There we go. Spacing on this keyboard's different than mine. I'm totally screwed up. All right, so I just give it a goal name, and I can, from here, I can say this goal type is a URL destination. So that means that this goal, somebody will count towards this goal if they hit a specific page on my website. So that's this. All I need to do, if I wanted that type of goal, remember I said I want to measure that they came to the pricing page. So literally all I have to do is go to the pricing page, go up here to the top, and copy everything after GaryS.com and put that into the URL. That's it. And now Google Analytics, every time somebody hits that pricing page, say, hey, you made a goal, good job, right? Put that on the report. In almost all cases, you're going to leave this as exact match. You might have something a little more funky where there's a certain word in the URL that you want to track on, but most cases you're going to use exact. Goal value. So this is your opportunity to tell Google Analytics how much somebody hitting this point is worth to you. In my case, this viewed pricing page, that's not worth anything, so I'm going to leave it at 0. And later, when we set up some of the other goals, I'll show you where I can add numbers. So if, as an example, let's say that you're trying to track the number of people that sign up for your newsletter, and you found that over time that 5% of your newsletter ends up buying from you at some point in time, and their average price of what they buy is $100 or whatever, right? So you know that somebody signing up for your newsletter is worth a nickel in that case, right? I think that's right, nickel or 50 cents, something like that. You know that somebody signing up for your newsletter was worth a nickel, and so you can put that nickel here so that at least in all the data you can see as that's adding up. So this is for you to kind of track how much that's worth. We'll go deeper into that when I create the next goal. And then the last piece is whether you want this goal to be part of a funnel or not. What I was just describing before about the funnel with these steps, in my case, these steps do directly align to the sales funnel. And so by checking this box and telling it to use the funnel, there's a separate funnel report, and you can say it'll actually automatically put these goals on the funnel report. So this is just asking, do you want me to show this goal on the funnel report? You can always come back here and change it. So if you put it on the funnel report and you decide you don't like it, you can take it back off. Any questions about setting up a goal, or about setting up a simple goal like this with no values or anything like that? Okay, cool. So we're going to pretend like I saved that since I've already got one in here.
I do have a sort of if it's tracking the blog, let's say, and it would track pages, but what if I have the URL click to Amazon? So can you track that through by putting it there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can. There's a couple different ways to do that. You can, if you said you're using Blogger, I'd have to check if the plugin for Blogger allows it, but there's sort of a trick where you where the URL actually goes to a page on your website first, where it tracks for Google, and then it pushes them off to Amazon. And there's a lot of plugins that'll do that for you automatically. I know there's one for WordPress, but I don't know about Blogger. I'd have to look, but I'm sure there probably is. All right, so I've got my viewed pricing goal in there. And so now I've tracked how many of my users have gone from anywhere on my website and they visited this pricing page. So next I want to track how many people click through on this basic account, this $5 per month account. How many people click through on that and come over to here?
Hi, am I late?
Better late than never.
So that's this basic registration goal that I've got set up. So you can see that it's account/registration/free, a bunch of other stuff on there. Oops.
And you just copied that part.
Yep. So account registration. Actually, that's supposed to say. I'm not tracking it correctly. Fix that. Maybe I found a bug. All right. In this case, same thing. It's not worth anything to me for the person coming to this page. It's only worth it if they actually fill that form out and hit submit. They haven't spent any money yet. So I've still got this set at 0. Let me save this. And then now on that same path, if the person had filled out that form and successfully gotten in here, they would come to this payment success page. And you can see that I've got a goal value of 5 on that. So remember that count on here was $5 per month. So I listed that goal at $5. And now anytime anybody makes it through those steps inside Google Analytics, it'll actually show, and I think I've got some data on here to show you. Go into like the demographics location report. This report automatically shows me where people are coming from, where their physical location is that they're coming to my website from. So you can see that I'm getting most of my traffic from the US, a little bit from Canada. And you can see along the top here, I've got goal set 1, goal set 2, e-commerce. So remember all those goals that I just set up are all underneath goal set number 1. So I'm going to hit goal set 1. And you can see on here how many people, how many of these people visited the view pricing page, how many hit that paid success. Actually, let's just stay on the basic ones. And you can see down here that I've got 2. So the two signups that I've gotten this month, one of them was from the UK. And so you can see that I got 244 total visits from the UK. The value per visit is 5 cents. That's basically it's taking the amount of money that I earned and just dividing it up amongst those visits. So it's saying, hey, people from the UK are worth $0.05 a piece because they're spending money. And then you can see of that bucket of people, how many went through each of these things. So you can see that people viewing the pricing page, people in the UK and the US and in France view the pricing page way more than anybody else, which makes sense because it's all English at this point and that's who I've been going after, right? But you might be getting stuff from other areas. But this is where the value of setting up those goals comes in, is that basically every report in Google Analytics has this little goal tab at the top. So you can look at this report based on what they're doing that's valuable to you. So instead of just trying to see how many visits people came through to, you can see where they're spending the money. Any questions about setting up goals? Cool. It's pretty simple. It's a matter of sort of sitting down, planning it out, figuring out what you need to put in there, and tracking it. Anybody have an e-commerce site where people can buy things that aren't fixed price like what I just showed you?
I do.
You do? Okay. You do too?
It all goes through Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about it. So in the case where you've got an e-commerce website, if it's one that's sort of a pre-built, you're talking about the S.M.A.R.T group or a different one?
No, I'm talking about Amazing Teas.
What platform is that on?
It's on WordPress. And I have a shopping cart.
Cool. So the shopping cart plugin probably has the capability to do it. But basically, you saw that I could actually put the dollar amount here in the interface. If somebody's shopping on the website and they're adding items to their cart that could be lots of different values, obviously you can't put a dollar amount here and have it mean anything real. And so that code that I showed you, it's over here in the tracking code. That code that you end up putting inside each page, Google has instructions in here for basically having your shopping cart tell Google how much people are putting in their carts. So you kind of like pass that information over to Google, and then all that data will show up right in your reports. So you can actually see on the e-commerce side of things, you can actually see not only how much money people spent, but how much they put in their carts and then left without actually buying. So it came really close, but not quite.
See, to me, the value would be in seeing at what point do they leave the site and not buy something.
Yeah.
So there might be one point that's a real deal killer for some people, and that's what I'd like to find out.
Exactly.
The dollars, well, I can just look at my total visits and figure out, well, now I need to get, rather than having 100 visits a day, I need 1,000.
Well, but so what you miss out on with that is being able to tell which of your online efforts are actually most effective. So being able to tell whether those visitors are being driven in from SEO work or from Twitter or from Facebook.
And most of them are from Google.
Yeah.
Most of my visitors. Yeah.
But do you
just
know?
Searching for bamboo T-shirts.
But what I'm saying is that you don't know that those Google visitors are the ones that are spending the money. So it could be that, the ones that are spending the money are the ones that are coming from Twitter, even though most of your traffic is coming from Google. So it could be either one. And so that's.
And then you have to figure out how to analyze that information and how to use that to change what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where it becomes really valuable. Let me show you guys how to track what's called traffic sources. So you saw, my visitors are coming from these different countries. I'm going to go into the traffic sources report down here. So this is going to let me know of the people that are coming from my website, where are they right before they come to my website. So you can see that about half of my traffic comes from search engines. That's not just Google, that's any search engine. Referral traffic means that it's some other website that's got a link to me. So they're coming from that website, and that website is not a search engine. Direct traffic is basically people that just typed your URL right into the browser, or maybe they've got an email. They got an email from you that had the link in it, and you didn't have any sort of tracking in it or anything like that. It was just a straight link to your website. So that's going to show up as direct traffic. And then campaigns down at the bottom. That's what I'm going to show you how to create. But campaigns is basically a special way to track offers that you make. So like in your case where you were talking about the your contest for people to fill that out, right? So to include a special version of your link to your website that would actually let you track that those people came as a result of maybe an email that you sent out for this contest, as well as the tweets, as well as the Facebook posts, and be able to track all those 3 different areas differently. So you can actually see from that, oh, all these visitors came as a result of that campaign. So even though maybe you didn't get answers to it, maybe it still drove traffic to your website, and maybe they did something useful, right? So being able to track each of those things individually, that's where campaigns come in. And then you can also see down here the keywords. So this actually lets me know what people searched for on Google to find me. So the actual search terms that people typed in. So from this you can start to fine tune what you do on your website. This really aligns directly to SEO work, right? Finding that somebody searched for that term and then actually click through to your website as a result. Yes.
The not provided keyword thing on there, why does that not being provided sometimes? Well, number one, it's basically saying we don't know what the search term was.
Oh, I see what you're saying. There's a couple different search engines that don't have it. Either that or people's browser settings sometimes don't let it come through. So just it's
privacy settings basically.
Yeah, you can't get it all the time. So
now
it goes back to like the same comment about like don't clear your cookies, right? Like there's lots of things that people can do to sort of break the data. So.
And sometimes I see on there it says organic search. Is that what?
Google.
That's the same thing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it just means that it was done by search, but they don't know who or where.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
isn't it unusual to have that large of a percentage of not provided? Because I've never seen it on my analytics. Or maybe I have, but it's been so far down I didn't really think about it.
I've seen a mix.
Okay.
I've got a few websites where it comes through. It really just depends on your customer and where they're coming from and that kind of stuff.
Would this come through from a geekier group of people who have more
Yeah.
I
protections
that's
in
probably it.
place? Okay, so that they're not sharing it that way?
So traffic sources. So we've got this set of campaigns, but now let's start trying to connect it to social media. So what I want to show you is, so this is the overall traffic sources. I'm going to go down here to campaigns. I've only got one, so I don't have a lot of data to show you guys, but I'll explain through it. So this is completely up to you. What shows up on this list is completely up to you. I created a campaign called 1 year 59% discount, and I ran this on another website where they had my product listed on there. It was sort of like a Groupon kind of a thing, except for startups. And so they listed my product on there at a 59% discount. If you signed up for a year, you got a 59% discount. So I gave that guy a special URL on his website to include so that I could track how many people he actually sent to my website as a result of it and how many of them have actually purchased. So I created a campaign called Scheduler 1 year 59% discount. That was me typing that really cryptic name. When I click on that, it allows me to drill into the different pieces of it. So in my case, I just put startups.com deal. In your case where we were talking about how you could track that contest, you probably would end up with, maybe you'd see email here and Twitter here and Facebook, right? Maybe if those are the platforms that you shared this contest on, you would want those to show up under here. So I'll show you how to define that. But it lets you kind of build a hierarchy. It says, here's the campaign, and then I did some email in that campaign, and I also did some links on this other website. And so you can roll up what happens in that campaign, but you can also break it out based on which channel that traffic came from.
You have to put all those sources in.
Correct. Yep. So here's how that works. We're going to go into Google. Google campaign.
It's so
I feel like
No,
I should be your
don't feel so
secretary.
bad. That's why I have a separate keyboard.
Go down to
Yeah. So it's this first one on the list, Google Campaign Builder. This very first one that comes up. I could have probably searched inside Google Analytics for it, but oops, I went to the wrong place. So all this does is basically builds a special URL for me to be able to share out on different websites. So if I want people to come to if somebody clicks on this special link that I'm going to send out on Twitter, I want them to come to the homepage of my website. So I'm going to put in the homepage of my website. And now I get to make up a bunch of stuff. So campaign sourced. In this case, let's say that I was getting ready to put something out on Twitter. So I'll put Twitter. My medium, again, all of these values, what I type in the box is what's going to show up in the report. I can put anything I want into any of these boxes. So in this case, my campaign medium, I want it to show up as social media. My term, if you were advertising on Google on the search engine and you were targeting specific search terms, you could track that. So you could put that term in here. In this case, I'm not, so I'll leave that out. My content.
But can I ask you a question? So if you were building a campaign for Interior Plant Week, the term then for a full week in Tucson of interior plants, that would be the term then that you might use?
If you were buying ads on Google AdWords,
okay.
and the search term was Plant Week,
Okay.
then you would put Plant Week in that one.
Got it, but otherwise no.
Yeah, just if you're buying search traffic, that's all you need that for.
Okay.
Campaign content. So you'll want to do like split tests and those kinds of things of the different pieces, right? So like in the example again about your contest, you probably want to try some different tweets, especially with how transient Twitter is. You could go and post up multiple different tweets that have different text in those tweets, but they end up going to the same place. So you can see which one of those resonated best with people. So you could actually use Twitter to pre-test your message, and whichever one gets the most clicks, you could try like 3 different variations across one day and not annoy anybody, and whichever one worked the best, then you go over and post that one on Facebook. See if you get similar results, right? So it's a way to kind of rapidly test and see if your message is actually resonating with your folks. Keep in mind though, like different platforms, you probably got different people connected, so you might not get the same result, but it's a good way to kind of test the waters. So in here, I can make up something where, you know, maybe it was say soft message, right? Like my message was really soft. It was not, I wasn't like, come visit now, you know, it was really gentle kind of a thing. I could put that, and then I could create another one of these that's like a more forceful message that I sent out, and I can track the difference between those 2 types of messages. And then campaign name, this is that, in my example, the 90, whatever it was, startup, 1 year, 59 discount, that's the campaign name. So you put that here in the box. Contest. After I've typed all these values in the box, I hit generate URL, and you can see that Google made this handy dandy little link down here for me that literally just took all those values I put in the box and stuffed them all together. So in my case, because the example that I was giving was that I was getting ready to tweet something out that was special and I wanted to track that all the way through, this is the link that I would tweet. I'd send the message and I'd include this link, and you know, using Twitter as an example where I'm going to shorten the URL down, people aren't going to see all this garbage. You could use for other platforms, you could use a URL shortener if you want, but it's not necessary. People will click through on it. Most of the platforms, they'll sort of hide the URL after a certain length anyway, so you only get a little bit of it, and they get a little photo of what it is and that kind of stuff. So you just have to kind of toy around with it depending on the platform that you're on. So now what happens though is if somebody goes and clicks on that link, not only does it count that campaign over here, so I can track where they came from, but remember what we were talking about before with return visitors and the fact that Google's putting a cookie on your machine to track that through. So now every time that they come back to your website, as long as they haven't cleared their cookies, you can still tell it's somebody that came from that campaign. So you can tell in that case, since that was a link that I only tweeted out and I had the platform as Twitter, now that person is tagged as somebody I brought in from Twitter forever, as long as they're interacting with my website and don't clear their cookies. So this now gives you the ability to track how effective your Twitter is in that example. You can try lots of different campaigns and sort of fine-tune that, but now you can track end-to-end. This person I was interacting with on Twitter eventually came to my website, went through, hit these goals, and bought this thing. So you can actually, when you're looking at these campaigns, I go into my goal set, and you can see, in my case, I got 2 visits as a result of this campaign, which is kind of weird because I ran the campaign like 3 months ago, so I should have a 0 there, but nobody converted, nobody did anything, so this was a worthless campaign from my perspective, right? But if they had, you'd have dollars here, and you'd be able to tell, you know, what the work that I did for this campaign on Twitter was 3 times more valuable than the work I did on Facebook. So again, it tells you what happened. Now you have to figure out why. Figure out why one was more effective than the other. And you can start kind of digging into that and try to, you know, it could be as simple as going and asking those customers, hey, why did you buy? It could be that you go and try some other experiments and those kinds of things, and that helps you boost those numbers up.
Is anybody lost?
I'm getting nods.
Good. Okay,
You're
good, good.
I
mean, you're doing a really
is anybody
good
lost?
No, you're doing a really
Do it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's- I think
Yeah.
you've explained it as well as
Okay.
you can until you participate in the process.
Yeah, once you do it, it's,
All of this.
yeah. But you have to do one for, like, if she wants to test Facebook, Twitter, and like LinkedIn, she has to generate 3 different URLs and set up 3 different campaigns.
Yep. Yeah, and in this
Okay.
case, it's pretty simple, right? So I put Twitter, I hit generate the URL, then I type Facebook, generate the URL.
So you don't have to go back out, you can stay
just keep
and
Okay,
generating.
okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's.
So
Once
not
you've
gonna-
done it a few
Good
times, it's
question.
probably pretty easy, but.
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
it.
it's pretty,
Okay.
and
Just-
like me, I don't even come to this form because I know that once I have all those values, I can just change the values in the URL, right? So
Right.
it's, you don't have to use
Oh,
that. It's just,
okay.
it's just generating
Makes
the
it
link
easier.
for you.
Yeah.
So your first couple times use it, it makes it easier, and then after that, you'll get used to it and just tweak it.
Now,
Okay, so go ahead.
now with this, like for instance, with my fan page I have on Facebook for one of my blogs, it's going to the TucsonCitizen.com where I have more the particular blogs at.
Mhm.
My main obstacle is like I have very little control over the actual blog. The only thing I have control over is literally posting and editing and approving comments. That's literally about it.
Right.
Is there any way that, basically through some of this here, that I could track how many people would actually click on the links I have on my Facebook page that actually goes back to the Tucson Citizen without having to bug the administrator and so forth?
In that case, you would have to basically create like a page on your blog.
Yeah.
That when people click on it, it goes to your blog and then passes them through to the other blog post you're talking about on the other person's
It does,
website.
okay, yeah.
So unfortunately in that case, because you don't actually control the website that's happening on, you gotta
Yeah.
sort of put something in the middle.
Now, at Tucson Citizens end of things, I don't know what they use for their analytical
Yeah.
tools, but is it going to say, well, we got traffic from my website and it's not from Facebook, right?
Yeah, basically by doing that, you're
Yeah.
gonna screw up their analytics. But you'll be able to see it.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be screwing up
Yeah.
their analysts, because the only thing that they really give us is like how many hits that we got, like within
Yeah.
last month, last 24 hours, those types of timetables. We have very little ability with that.
So you may wanna start pushing on them a little bit and see if you can get a little bit more, hey, look, if you can give me more data, I can make it more effective for you guys, but unfortunately, I think.
Yeah, I'd
it-
approach them.
Huh?
I'd approach them, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Be like, can you share more?
Well, when I send out an e-blast, and I remember like trying to get them to go to the website, probably I should put the links on the e-blast to be campaigns. Campaign
Yeah.
Then I can tell who's coming from that e-blast.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and you'll be able to track if they, you know, if they also engage with you through social media and some other things, right? So you'll be able to see, in a lot of cases, what you end up with is you end up in a situation where you'll actually see visitors that came through from Twitter or Facebook or something else, and they don't spend any money with you, or they don't do anything valuable on your website, and then like you'll send out an email blast, and then they'll convert, right? So that they get like 3 or 4 exposures to you through other means, and then the email blast. So this will let you see all of those things. You'll be able to see, you know, sometimes it's like a combination of channels that gets the sale versus just one single channel.
Okay, well, this is